Welcome back to the Behind the Bricks podcast. Now, you already know that we're here to lift the lid on the property industry, to show you real stories and real projects to help you learn to increase your level of success in investing in property. We believe too many people focus on only the good of investing in property. Whereas this week, just like any other week, we want to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly of property investment. And speaking of ugly, I'd like to introduce you to this week's guest, who is Stephen Moss, property developer for 15 years and the CEO of Sourced. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Christopher.
So, talking about honest stories that we tell people, what property development are you working on right now?
Right now, we're finishing off a HMO conversion. We're doing a barn conversion. We're doing 24 new builds. We're doing 14 apartment conversion and just finishing off a 13 apartment conversion.
So plenty on the go.
So a little bit, and we're slowing down. So yeah. So yeah, there's a few of those that are coming right to the end, which is good.
It's a long time since we've done one of these together, isn't it? Actually, because we used to do these in Widnes, didn't we? Just you and me with a producer.
5, 6 years.
It must be 5 years.
Yeah.
And so have these developments been keeping you busy for the last 5 years, and that's why you and me haven't done a podcast together? Is it something?
Not really, because the fan mail got to a point where I thought, you know what, there's only so much one guy can cope with. So the postman hurt his back carrying it, so I thought better give him a break. So
I got sick of buying knickers just to send them to you as well.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, just to feed your ego.
Yeah. Thank your wife for that. I appreciate that.
Feeding you on knickers, that's a weird thing to...
Yeah, that does get cut out that bit, doesn't it?
No.
Brilliant.
So anyways, 15 years in property. Tell us about your property CV. That's what you've got going on at the minute, but overall, over the last 15 years, what kind of stuff have you been doing?
Stood on a lot of bridges, thinking, should I jump? So, what have I been doing in 15 years? A lot of conversions. We've done new build. I was working out the other day, actually, that we've either built or converted over 250 properties, which, when you say it like that, actually, yeah, you think, wow, that's pretty good going, but it doesn't feel like that when you're in the middle of it all.
And who's we? Just
as a team, Sourced. Obviously, I started before. We launched Sourced is 8 years next month, is it?
It's 1st of September.
Yeah, so next month, which is unbelievable, gone in the blink of an eye. But yeah, generally speaking, before that we were doing conversions and refurbs, flips, that sort of stuff, HMO conversions, that sort of stuff. So
clearly too much to fit into one podcast. We're not going to fit like stories from 250 developments or 250 units into one podcast. So let's look at developments that are at critical stages of your sort of property career, because that's gonna hopefully help the people that are listening to us. So The first and the most obvious one is your first development. So what was your first development? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, we did I was doing sort of refurbs. I mean, initially this all started off by wanting to get into the estate agency world, getting in the estate agency world, but having a real passion for the investors, the structures. That was where I kind of excelled in my career in the early days. So being able to utilize structures, obviously we were talking about the days when people were doing back-to-backs, no money down, 110%, all those different...
Really creative stuff.
Yeah, and it was a great market. It was a great time to be in the property world.
And so you were an estate agent at that time, and these opportunities were coming to you as like people just wanting to sell normally, and you would structure it in a way that you could do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we would have traditional buyers and sellers, and then behind in the back office, in effect, we had like an investment team. So if we went to a property that we knew actually we could structure this that worked for an investor, we'd pass it straight to them, because we'd sell a house for free for the seller and we'd earn a much bigger commission off the buyer. Or we would back it, which in effect is buying it at one price and on the same day selling it at a higher price. And that was quite a big area that we did. We used to go to people's properties and give them a deposit there and then, and exchange, sign documents there and then we'd come away and sell it on for a higher value. Lots of different creative structures that we used back those sort of pre-2007, 2008.
So looking at developments, what would you consider your first development? And I guess the threshold for that is like something that's bigger than just a normal refurbishment.
Yeah, I mean, we did a couple of small HMO conversions, but they weren't really like HMOs now. Obviously, we've got HMOs now, which are a standard HMO for us is ensuite for every room. We generally don't take anything on that's not ensuite each room. It's this sort of co-living rephrase. You know, it's a bit like when terrace become townhouses just because it sounded posher, and you know that's now the co-living world, isn't it, that we're in?
Yeah.
But my actual first conversion was a very simple. It was a large 3-bed terrace in Wigan that we converted to 3 apartments. So we actually split it up. We did all the building regs. We put all the flooring in, you know, everything to meet criteria, and converted it into 3 apartments, and then sold those apartments.
So how'd you find that one?
Like everything, I mean, this is, you know, I say this to every kind of person in our network, and anybody who meets me and says, you know, where do you get all your deals from? And the reality of it, it's just on the market. You know, I'd say probably in the whole time I've been doing property, I could probably on less than one hand as the number of properties I've bought off market, and because that stigma is just rubbish. Do you know what I mean? I've so many times I hear, oh, you've got to get off market, you've got to get off market. You know, vendor contact and all this sort of stuff, when it's just rubbish. You know, the reality is there are plenty of deals on the market. You've just got to be creative, or you've got to approach them. And the key thing for me with anybody approaching any property, it's all about adding value. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no magic trick or anything. Look at a property. If you can add value to it, you can sell it then.
So when you took that one on in Wigan, were you an estate agent at that time, and so you had that business that was operating?
No. We were out the estate agency.
Okay.
At the time, we were doing sort of small refurbs, selling them on or renting them out, and then we got to a stage where we took on a conversion.
So you were already looking at properties on the market. You were doing the right move, scroll pretty frequently, and this one came up.
Yeah.
And what about that stood out to you? Why did you choose that one?
It was very much a case of looking at the layout, you know, and it's similar to what we do now. So we've just recently bought, well, not recently, 6 months ago now, it's a bit longer, it's flying. So a terrace that it was on the market for over 12 months. It was a bit of a knackered terrace, and all we did was look at the floor plan. How can we be creative to convert this into a HMO?
Yeah.
And it was the same process. How can we be creative to convert this into 3 self-contained apartments? And it was following that process, going out and viewing it. You know, a lot of the time we find, I still find it now, that I'll look at the measurements, and usually the measurements that are on the details are wrong typically. So you've got to kind of say, well, look, you know, that's part of the job. Unfortunately, you can go view lots and lots of properties, they're always wrong. So it's trying to find where else can you pick that extra meter or, you know, width to get a hallway in or stuff like that, and just seeing lots and lots of properties. And you get to a stage where ultimately, if you're buying, where my career's kind of took me is that having the network we've developed properties all over the UK now, which is fantastic. It's also a massive headache, and it's changed it, you know, our approach and what we've done. But initially, when I was doing it, when I first started, I kind of had Wigan and Warrington were my kind of key areas.
Yeah. And
it was very much a case of I generally didn't go out of those realistically. I'd do the odd thing in Liverpool maybe, and the odd bit here or there, but predominantly it was Wigan or Warrington, and because I knew the streets, I knew the type of houses, I knew what I'd typically be getting on there, I knew what I'd get away with, and all those sort of things, and I get to know it. And I focused on those. Wigan was a bit of a gold mine at the time because house prices were cheap, but the rentals were still strong. So we were able then to sell it with a high yield, and obviously investors love that as well.
That being your first development, presumably you hadn't done anything that was that big previously. So when you took that on, did you feel like you had enough experience to do it, or was there a case of flying by the seat of your pants?
Yeah, I think there is, no matter what. I mean, let's be honest. If you, even now, when I go back to buy development, day before, I always think, I'm going to make a mistake here. This is what you get, that feeling in your stomach, which is nerves more than anything else. But I think it's a good thing because it makes you self-check everything. That's been on every single property, even properties that were just vanilla. You know, you do question yourself, why am I putting this money into this property when I could go and do this or try and develop this or something like that, realistically.
So even now when you're buying one house, one unit on its own, which is a vanilla buy-to-let or a small HMO, you'd still get that.
Yeah.
Am I doing the right thing?
Am I doing the right thing with it? You know, any property is ultimately a big purchase, but it's making sure that we're maximising what we're doing. So, yeah, it was a nervous point. And as well, I think it was that unknown of, are you going to be able to split them? Are you going to be able to sell them? Are you going to be, even though we're doing it day in, day out to other people.
Yeah.
And we'd done a lot of title splits by then. I mean, the biggest deal I did in terms of profit margin, etc., was just a title split. It was that simple. It was a back-to-back title split. We made over £300,000, and it was like winning a lottery at that stage, because, you know, previous to that, property sourcing for us was kind of up and down in terms of, we were trying to do developments while doing it. So you were constantly stopping and starting while you were trying to work on a project. And that's a very difficult phase to go through, because you need to keep the property source going to keep the income coming in. But also as well, you've got a lot of time spent on a project. And I think part of the learning curve you go through there is actually, as you do more, you start relaxing a little bit off the projects in terms of you let trades go in and do what they need to do. And then you go and check it up, maybe instead of every other day or every day, you end up checking it once every 2 weeks, and then you realise actually they're not doing what they're doing, or you know, there are problems here, and that's a learning curve then to go back to.
What was the outcome of that deal?
Yeah, we did okay. I mean, again, quite often on property developments, I think the big thing is that people think you cash in and you're rich on every development. I think the reality of that isn't the case. I think you end up with a number like everything in property. You know, so many of them go well, some of them don't, and so many you just want to get out of and you're okay. But yeah, ultimately, it wasn't a massive kind of like game changer thing. I think, you know, we probably earned something like £50,000, which was great for us. It gave us a salary for the year at the time. But, you know, it was more of a case where we weren't in it for long. We had a team that came in and supported us, and then we moved on to something else. We actually moved on to another couple of properties like that. So I went in and I made them an offer. They accepted it, and you know, part of me was, I could probably have put 20, maybe 30,000. Well, I probably sensibly could have put £30,000 on every property and flipped them. To do that all in one go was just, you know, it was difficult. So what the strategy I took was, I went to a couple of investors that I know well and basically said, right, okay, I've got these apartments. They're worth X amount, say £80,000 as an example. If you buy them, I'm going to give you your deposit to buy them, and I'm going to give you 5 or 10 grand as a cashback. So there's a big incentive for them to buy sort of like 4 or 5 or whatever it was each, basically. So, and that's what I did. I just had a small group of investors. They were all very committed to it, because they were getting, you know, if you added it up, they were getting like £80,000 cashback each or something. And they all knew it had to go through the same day. They didn't know what I was buying at. They didn't know anything else, because all they were interested in actually was the £70,000-80,000 that they were making, and they were happy. So I remember I completely ruined the family holiday, because we went to France with the little one and some friends. I was trying to get the deal through before we went to France. Didn't get it through. We were in France. I was a nightmare. Didn't speak to anybody for the first like week. You know, I was so focused on trying to get this thing through. And then the day went through, got drunk and got engaged. There you go. That was it. That's when life went wrong again. So yeah, it was quite memorable, I suppose, in that respect. So yeah, we went out and celebrated, and it was kind of like a game changer, because it was a huge amount of money. And it enabled us to move on to the development side and other things that we did. If
I talked to your wife about that holiday, would she have exactly the opposite opinion, where the first half of that holiday was brilliant because you weren't you weren't talking to anyone, you were just off doing your own thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were there paying for stuff, but you weren't talking to anyone.
Yeah.
How'd you find that one?
Through estate agents again. You know, that was within us. It was online. It was within an estate agency, and they weren't based in Wigan actually. They were based somewhere else a bit further down. And they were at the point, in honesty, where they didn't want to show me around it, because they'd shown that many people, because it was such a big amount of units for somebody to actually come in. And again, it was for me to add value and say, yeah, I can do this. You know, they saw it that they were only dealing with one buyer. They probably knew what I was doing realistically, but they didn't care. You know, they just saw it as an estate agent, that they get a huge fee out of it. We get it through.
Did you beat them down on price, or did you just
pay
them off?
I mean, off the top of my head, I can't remember. We got, you know, it was probably 100 grand or something off the price.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't a case of we went crazy on it or anything like that, because there's by splitting the flats, because there was so many of them, the value just increased massively. It was huge.
So going back to the experience question that I asked you for the first one, Did you have enough experience to do that? Presumably you'd done the title split stuff before. It was just a scale.
It was scaling up thing, yeah. And it was, do you know what the difference was as well? And I think this is where that's kind of helped me in life is, I mean, God, then I was, 25? I was a massive amount of stress. You know, I know I kind of made it sound simple in that way, but I'm dealing with maybe, let's say 6 buyers, let's say they've got to get each one mortgage, they've got to get, so I went to like 30 odd valuations. I had to make sure they were coming in right. I had to sort out the mortgages. I had to keep the seller happy at all the time to make sure he didn't go anywhere else. I had to show progress as though I was buying it. I had to have my solicitor lined up to do the back-to-back. I had to have their solicitors lined up, understand it was a back-to-back. And, there was a lot going on at the time. So it was just stress. And I think having situations like that at an early stage, that really helped me later on to deal with like the bigger developments where you not only just bigger developments, but actually multiple big developments at the same time, because it is very stressful. It's hard work and you need to be able to focus on one problem, then get on to the next.
Part of that is self-inflicted though, isn't it? Right? Because you've seen this deal, you know how much money's in this deal. You're so keen to get it through, and there's so much hard work and effort that you're going to put into it. You know that you're sacrificing everything else, because I bet you didn't have much else going on at that time because you just didn't have the capacity to take it.
Oh yeah, no,
take it up, right?
If that deal had fell over, the reality of it was I'd have been in real trouble, because exactly what you said, my typical sourcing, which is what I was doing at the time, which is what I love, to be honest, it stopped because I was so engrossed in this deal and I was so busy with it. And if that had fell over, which that's happened to me so many times in the past, where I've been working on a big deal, it's a huge payday, it's the shiny penny syndrome, it's everything else. I stop my day to day, I really focus on this deal, put all my energy into it, and then it falls over after 2-3 months and you're like, right, okay, I'm going to have to, start again and build yourself back up. And that's one of the things that I think in property, you've got to have that built into you.
Have you always gone bigger?
No.
Or have you gone like bigger, like this one?
Yeah.
Experienced so much stress at getting this over the line that actually the next one that you've taken on has been a bit smaller, just to give yourself a bit of breathing space. To then go ahead again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got to. And part of it is what opportunities are around, because in reality, there's only so many big opportunities you can manage at one time. So where we had great growth a couple of years ago was because we had these big opportunities and they were all in planning. So, and you got to a stage where, as you're aware, when they're in planning, there wasn't a lot we could do. We'd done all the report, we'd done everything else. We're kind of in the hands of God to a degree. And we're waiting on them. Now, some of those planning applications took 2 years to come through. So if I'd have submitted that and then sat there thinking, in 3 months I'm going to be building it, then again, I'd be in trouble. So you've got to keep that mix. And I think as well, I'm an old man now. So as you get older, your risk appetite changes, and we've done some big developments more recently, and my appetite for that is changing in terms of why do I need to do that? Why do we need to do so many across the country? We've got some great partners we introduce to them and we do deals with. It's not necessary. We don't need to be stretching ourselves that much when we've done the experience. We know what we're talking about. There aren't many people out there in the property training world or sector that actually have done the level that we've done. And can talk about it and their experience with it. So I think that makes us a little bit different.
You're not that old. I mean, you look old.
Look very old, thanks, mate. Yeah.
Is that why you weren't in the office this morning? Because you were sitting in front of your gas heater with your blanket and your pudding?
Yeah. Just getting warmed up for the day.
So next property I want you to look at is the biggest one that you've done. So that was the previous one was the life changer.
Yeah. So the biggest one we've done is Taunton. So
tell us about that.
Taunton was a office block, 2 office blocks. We kept one as an office block while it was rented commercially. We're now doing some conversions on it, but at the time the other office block was empty and we had planning for 55 apartments. So we built that out.
So you bought it with planning?
Well, yeah, it was a little bit of luck, to be fair. So again,
on Rightmove
for 3 years. 3 years it was on Rightmove.
Crazy.
So we found that, to be honest. So we built a system in Sourced which analyzes deals and then spits out leads, Escudo, which we know about. And this was one of the test leads that it spat out. So we did a bit more research on it. I was like, yeah, this looks good. Looks like it worked.
Do you remember the numbers when it first came out and we like put the numbers together as to what this development actually could achieve?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Profit-wise?
Yeah.
It was like 5 mil, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, suppose if you do both of them, that's the equivalent of what it is. But both commercial units. But yeah, it came up as a lead. We followed it. Myself and John drove 4 hours to get there. We met the commercial agent that was there. Commercial agent, first question, what are you thinking of doing with it? We're looking at converting it into apartments. It doesn't work, lads. There's no way it'll work around here. So after 4 hours of being in the car with John Wilson, you know, I felt like walking back.
Tough. That's tough.
It was tough. He loves singing country music, so I'm just gonna put that out there now for any John Wilson fans. So yeah, it was straight away. I looked at John, and we both looked on the floor, thinking, "Jesus, what have we done?" And it was that kind of like coaching of experience to say to him, "Okay, then, so in your mind, it doesn't work. So now we'd already done our stats on the square footage, and we thought it's going to be between 50 to 60 apartments. It didn't have any planning. There was nothing there." So we said to him, "Look, what does a one bed sell for here?" "I don't know. I'm commercial agent. I'm based in Bristol, which is 40 minutes away." So okay, so you're based in Bristol. What would a one bed sell for in Bristol? I can't remember what he come back. Say 220, something like that. So I said, okay, so is it fair to say then that that's 220 down here, 180, something like that? And he went, "Oh yeah, you'll get that." And I was thinking, well, if we get that, this is worth, you know, there's millions in this. It doesn't make any sense. So we walked around the whole thing, saw it. It had all been stripped out. It had been an insurance job. There'd been a big flood. So it all already stripped out for us, which was great. And then he said, at the end, he said, "Oh, they have put planning permission in, but they never heard anything back." So I said, "Well, there's nothing on the portal." He said, No. He said, we know we've chased it, had nothing back.
So why did the guy say it wouldn't work? Just purely on the numbers?
Yeah. So purely on the numbers. Other people had looked at it. Been on the market for 3 years, you know, couldn't sell. So I put an offer forward, subject to us getting planning. I think it was a day or 2 days later, he rang me up to say, "Great news, planning permission's been accepted for 55 apartments." So I panicked a little bit and then said, "Right, let me look at the planning permission." Rang him back a few hours later and I said, "Look, got good and bad news. The good news is we're still interested, but the bad news is that planning permission isn't relevant because it won't work. You've just literally stuck anything in it hoping that you'll sell it with planning permission, but actually if you build that out, it doesn't work."
And he said, why? Unpack that.
Oh, it's just a lie. It's just a lie. So it was a case. What I didn't want them to do is go, "Well, now we've got planning permission, we want another £500,000 quid."
Yeah.
Because we were buying at, what, 5 million quid, just under 5 million quid. So I didn't want them to say, "Well, now we've got planning permission, we want X amount more." So my defence to that was to say, well, the planning permission you've got is pointless. You know, you're not developers, you've just thrown it, which they admitted themselves, we've just thrown everything in.
So you thought of their next step?
I was trying to,
and you were trying to get there before.
Yeah. And so the next day he rang me up and said, "Yeah, okay, listen, we understand you're gonna have to make changes. We'll stick at the price agreed. Let's proceed." And that was it. So, and we didn't make any changes other than like little tiny things, you know, simple things. So we were quite lucky in that respect.
Wasn't there another quite big issue with the planning for that place?
Yeah.
Where I remember you spending two days finding this like a treatment plant that you have to get from Germany.
Yeah. Ask me anything about German phosphate waste treatment plants, and I'll be able to answer that. That's my mastermind.
Because basically they didn't want the waste from the 55 units going into the sewage system.
Yeah, it's a massive problem in different areas where councils have government legislation where they can't introduce any more phosphates into the wastewater treatment plants, and that was one of them. So the only way we could actually abide to the planning permission was by dealing with this phosphate issue. I found a system in Germany, and before we did it, we submitted a report that we created to evidence that actually 55 apartments doesn't give off any more phosphate than 55 people working there. But luckily enough, they actually came back and said, "We're changing the legislation based on if it's a conversion, we'll allow it," because it was already had people in.
And that is pure luck, isn't it? Right? That's just right place, right time.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, we were at the stage, in honesty, where we were either bringing in a German system or we're going to walk away from the deal. That's how close it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was.
So you found that one on Rightmove. 55 units is a big conversion. Did you have enough experience to make that work?
Enough experience?
Yes.
I think what had been the biggest one we'd done before that? 25, something like that.
Yeah, I can think of 22 at Bridge.
22 there. We've done, I'm trying to think anything that sort of size.
About half the size then. I mean, you're talking about roughly half the size previously, and then so you're doubling up.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot. There was a lot of challenges. The challenges with that one were ultimately quite far away, which, we educate people to say, oh, try and do them within an hour, and we support them because it's right. If there's an issue or problem, you want to be there. I lived a lot of my life on the M5, going down to Taunton and back, and sometimes 2-3 times in a week. And
at weekends, I mean, not just during the week, right?
Just to make sure I was there, to make sure I was checking what people are doing.
Again, this is probably your wife's favourite project.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're out of the house so much.
Let's buy another one. So, yeah. So yeah, it's that level of commitment. And also we've got other developments on the go. So I think I turned very quickly into sort of David Brent. I was on the road 24/7. I would be going from there to Carlisle to over to Hull to, it was that kind of like constant triangle. But it was a learning curve again. It was there were different challenges with that one. Tight space, bigger units ultimately. Different regs in it in that respect. So, but yeah, it was good. It was good to learn. We've got a great end product. And yeah, beautiful location. It's got the river tone around the back of it. And we're doing the commercial unit next door. We're currently converting. So yeah, really happy with that. And we're looking to keep that one as well, retain it, because the rental value of them is unbelievable.
So now looking at the most recent project that you've taken on, you said that your risk appetite's changed.
Yeah,
because you're getting old.
Absolutely.
So would you consider taking on another Taunton, another one like the biggest one that you've done?
Probably not at this stage, no. No. I think ultimately as well, one thing I'd say that I've learned from my experience, and I've shared this on webinars and calls before, is that, bigger projects equal, and this is common sense for anyone, isn't it? It equals bigger risk, takes more time, and, the profits that you initially start off with hoping you're going to achieve, you never fully achieve them because there are always more costs. We were going through a period of build costs were still increasing, even though we tried our best to get ahead of that. We still got caught a little bit with it. So we did well out the site, don't get me wrong, but ultimately we didn't achieve fully what we could have achieved. And when you look back at it and think, well, actually, that's just taken 2.5 years of my life.
Yeah.
And if I'd have done the smaller projects, I'd have earned the same without the risk, without the travel, without the headaches and everything else. The reality of it is I'd have earned the same, So for me, it's actually looking at those smaller projects.
Without even looking at projects, have you ever worked out, because you've been in property for a long time, right? And you were, I imagine, I didn't know you when you were doing deal sourcing, but I imagine you were very good at it. Have you ever worked out, if you'd have just carried on deal sourcing, how much money you could have earned, and whether that is comparable to the money that you've earned through developments, and all the heartache and the pain that you've put yourself through, and all the wasted money that you've had going through developments?
Dear diary.
Do you want me to show you to the local bridge? Because I know a good one.
I think the difference is, though, Chris, that when I was property sourcing, it was a very different sector. So I excelled in it then because the market was different.
In what way? Explain how.
All the things that I mentioned before, back-to-backs, everything like that
right.
I kind of specialised in, that really helped. And so, but for me, I've got the personality where I get bored. So, I was probably at the stage where if I wasn't going to go into developments or something similar, in honesty, I mean, ultimately I did. I went and built another business before sourced, which, I exited and we did really well out of. And, that was legal for landlords. That was a completely different sector because I was at the stage of, I need to do something else now. I need to get into something else and experience something else. And I researched the market, found there was an opportunity there for evictions and grew that and founded that business. But it's, I think, and that might be why actually my appetite for risk has changed. It might not be the appetite for risk. It might be actually, I'm bored of that now. I've done that. I'm going to keep doing it because, in honesty, development's a little bit like a drug. You see them and you think, if I don't get that, someone else is going to get that. I can't have that. But, and you end up then putting yourself in that position. But it's more manageable because I also know that actually I've got some really exciting things going on in the business at the moment, and I'm really keen to see them through. We've got some new products that we're launching. We've got a banking license. We've got all these really cool things that we're doing. And that's what keeps me excited and going. And then,
which is fine when you've got something like Sourced, that's sort of it's got so many moving parts that it satisfies your appetite for getting bored. But then, how do you deal with that through developments, like you say, Taunton, 2.5 years or whatever, which is a standard amount of time for that to take, because it's a bloody massive conversion.
Yeah.
So how do you stop yourself from getting bored in something like that?
Well, I was getting bored because I wasn't getting bored because I was off then buying another one, trying to getting that one ready, getting everything up and running. Yeah. And that's the reality that I kind of got into that cycle of. There's another one there. There's a great opportunity. There's something exciting to learn there. There's something different. And I particularly like the conversions where it's an older building and you can do something a bit different. We're doing a barn conversion at the moment, and it's annoying and frustrating, but it's pretty cool the things you can do with it and make it look and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's having those opportunities. But I think, if I was to say, is it risk appetite or is it actually I feel like I've done a lot of that? I don't know. It's probably a bit of both, to be fair.
So the most recent one that you've taken on is?
Most recent one, so we've got a couple in the pipeline that we're going through purchase, but most recent is a HMO conversion that we're doing and a barn conversion. So
how big is the HMO?
HMO is now a 5-bed HMO, so not big.
What do you mean now a 5-bed?
It was a 3-bed. Was it a 3-bed? Yeah, 3-bed terraced.
Okay.
So we've converted it to a 5-bed HMO. It's one, in honesty, that I wanted to. So my two younger sons wanted to get into property. We sat down, we followed the training that we do. They went through their areas that they're looking at, literally followed the exact blueprint that we talk about. And then, they looked for a solid 6 months, finding properties, going out to all kinds of crazy stuff and eye-openers. And then, got to a stage where they found this property. It fit really well. It was quite low cost for them to purchase. And they're following that process through of converting it. So carpet's going tomorrow. So
excited. So when are the rooms going to be on the market?
September. So so the plan is carpets tomorrow, build all the furniture, and then launch September after the holiday period, really.
Okay.
So,
you're not trying to get in for the academic year or anything like that?
No, it's probably not those sort of tenants. It's more sort of professional tenants that they're looking for.
Now we're going to play a game. Well, first of all, thanks for sharing all of that with us. It's very valuable, I'm sure, for people that want to know how not to do it.
Thanks, man.
But now we're going to play a game called Build It or Bin It. Okay, so you've got to choose Build It or Bin It. I'm going to propose to you some sites, and you just need to tell me whether, with all the experience that you have of taking buildings and converting buildings, as to whether you're interested in this site or not. We'll assume that they're going for market rate, so there's no big discount or anything, because I know that the way that your brain works is that you're going to look at the site and you're going to think, well, these are all the negatives that I can think of for that site, and therefore I'm going to try and get a discount on it. But we're just going to keep it dead bog standard simple.
Yeah.
So I want you to choose Build It or Bin It, and then I want you to tell me why. Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
First one is a.
You're not just going to say all my sites, are you? Just to get me to bin it.
Bin it.
Yeah.
So the first one is a 500-year-old stone church with a graveyard.
With a graveyard?
With a graveyard.
People will pay extra for that. So, typically with churches, I'd say you struggle to get more units out of them because the windows are usually pretty big, so I'd say bin it. But, if it was different, I'd always look at it. But, typically, I love the fact it's quirky, I love the fact it's old and everything else like that. That's all good, but most churches I've seen, realistically, the windows are too big to be able to put 2 floors in it. And
does the construction of the original building play any part of that? Because it's not like a cavity wall construction; it's just a single brick, or not brick, but single stone construction.
No, not at all. No, I mean ultimately, there's plenty of methods that you can put in place to get around that. It's more, the church. I mean, I've looked at loads of churches.
You ever done one?
No, I'd love to do something like that. I'm trying to think now what we've done similar. A friend of mine's just bought a church in Burton Wood, Jonathan, and we looked at it. It was online, but again the same issue. But he's bought it, and the first question was, "What are you going to do with it?" And he said, "I don't know."
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, right, fantastic. So, because most of the time things like that, you're looking at conversion. We looked at one actually. I'm pretty sure you came with me. It was part of a massive manor in a courtyard, a church at one end as well. And that was the same issue that, with the rest of the manor, you could split it into sort of townhouses or mews, whatever you want to call them. But the issue with the church was, you couldn't split the windows, so you'd have to find something that's a bit quirky.
So why has he bought it then? Has he bought it because he's been able to negotiate that discount?
He's done very well in life. He's a great guy, property guy, and he likes buying quirky stuff. Why he's bought that? He's got a huge plot of land at the back, and he's probably looking at it that he'll split it into 2 semis or something like that. So it won't be an enormous, income generator or anything, but it doesn't need it to be realistically. Or he's talking about just actually living in it. So,
Oh, really?
So just living in it will be quite a quirky house in itself. So,
all right, next one. Going back to the comment that you just made, actually, that's quite pertinent. Next one is a very boxy and ugly concrete construction office building.
We've got loads of them. Buy it, baby.
Why? Concrete construction, is that a problem?
No, again, not obviously you'd have to get it tested, but realistically, we've done a few.
Tested for?
There's different grades of concrete, isn't there? So you'd have to get that checked out to make sure that it was mortgageable at the end and it would suffice the life span, if you like. But no, I mean, we've done one which, Jesus, I've had absolute piss took out me in the office, which you're fully aware of. What was the place that people refer to as?
Alcatraz,
that's it. But if you take people there now, we had.
You'd never know. It's phenomenal.
It's all been sprayed dark grey. It looks real. Dark grey sounds horrible, but it's actually really cool and trendy. And everybody I've took there has commented straight away, "Wow, that building's really cool." So it's worked out well in the end. And yeah, I think the amount of the amount of fascias and coverings and rendering,
exactly,
that's what we've done. We rendered it, didn't we? So the amount of things that you can do with them now to make them look cool. We kept quite an industrial look and feel to that, and it works. Initially when I first saw it, to be honest, I was like, what the hell, but after visiting it, I kind of fell in love with it a little bit. I quite liked it.
And I've seen similar stuff done on, those really, really boxy 1950s concrete construction office buildings.
Yeah.
They've got like a row of windows. There's no break in between the windows. It's just a row of windows.
Yeah.
Similar stuff's being done to them, and it really updates them. It really brings them into our century.
Yeah, it's into our century. Yeah. It is. I would go for it. The nice thing with them as well is typically not many supporting walls, so you can do a lot internally, without much structure. So it's key things like that, really. So yeah.
So that's a build it.
Build it.
All right, next one.
Even though we're not building anymore, we'll build that one.
Next one is a brownfield. It's brownfield land or a brownfield site in an area with 50% residential properties and 50% light commercial properties.
Yep. Yeah.
So there's no planning in place at the moment. It's just brownfield. So for those of you that don't know, brownfield means it's previously developed land.
Yeah.
So it has been used for something previously.
I probably, you'd have to do a lot of investigation, wouldn't you? But yeah, ultimately, it's probably something that I'd look to. I wouldn't build it probably. I'd probably look to get planning and then sell it with planning, and that's what we tend to do on plots of land. But I'd certainly be interested. Option agreements, things like that would be great. I'd take our planning consultants down to have a look at it first and get feedback.
Either an option agreement or a exchange with a
subject to. Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, I'd definitely be interested in looking at something.
Okay. And then finally, last one, same situation, 50% residential, 50% light commercial in the local area, but this time it's greenbelt.
Bit tough for that, isn't it? It depends as well what price you get. If you get it for a steal, you'll have a go anyway.
It's just normal market price, like all of them.
We've looked at a couple of sort of greenbelt ones, and you kind of earmark them thinking, are they going to ever get it? Are they, and it's frustrating, isn't it? Because you hear from the government all this, we're like loosening laws, we're going to...
we've got to build 250,000 houses every year.
And they just don't, do they? That's the reality. So I think you could easily get caught. The amount of people I've seen that have invested in them, or certainly invested heavily in planning, and it's got nowhere. It's frustrating. I think, again, if I was to weigh up what the options are in the market now, it's not something I'd be putting my money into. I'd say there are a lot of opportunities. The market right now, sellers are starting to understand that actually we need to take less, we need to be more flexible, and the opportunities are just growing and growing. So we are seeing more deals coming in. We are seeing,
even though interest rates still on a downward trend.
Yeah.
And therefore, theoretically, bringing more buyers into the market, and therefore there's more competition for them. You think that sellers are still understanding that they need to lower their prices?
It depends which news channel you read, doesn't it? You know, everyone's got a completely different view of. I was chatting to one of our partners this morning, and he said we're looking at an acquisition for a letting agency with him, and his concern is that the landlords are leaving the market in the droves and everything else like that. And I think at not our last one, but our one before board meeting, you know, we had the market update and review, and I can't remember what the statistic was. It was like 2%. It was something so small, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You think, well, landlords aren't leaving in droves and droves, are they? I think it was less than 5%, I'm sure.
That doesn't sell newspapers though, does it?
No, exactly, yeah, that's it. But the actual statistics of it are, you know, it's less than 5%. So why are we, but like you said, it sells papers, and people like as well to talk down things and be negative about things as though they know it a little bit better than other people and stuff like that. And you know, quite often, I think everybody's heard this, you've got to do the opposite, haven't you? You know, that's the reality. What everyone else is doing, do the opposite, because that's when you're going to make the most money, and that's important.
So I've got a question for you. What if you had a billboard?
Yep. And
that billboard was visible to everybody in the property industry, what would you put on that billboard? Don't make it about me.
Oh, I was just going to say, stay well clear of. No, do you know what you asked me before about the biggest lesson, and what I think I've got to think about what I tell franchisees and people that are in our network, and when they join, is ultimately it doesn't matter what stage people join us. I always ask them to start off on the training for property sourcing, because to me, I would not have achieved anything I've achieved without learning property sourcing. It's been so vital that I can analyse a deal very quickly. I've got a good idea already if it's going to work. And even when I'm doing, you know, developments, any kind of size, I go back to those same things. It's the same rules. You know, I know when my kids have been on work experience with me, or I've had them in the summer holidays and I'm going out, I'll sit there and I'll say, right, you only need to know 5 things. You only need to know 5 things about a property. That's it. And we can work off that to know if this is going to work. What do these properties sell for at this? What are we buying it at? How much, you know, and it's those things that we go through. And it's understanding property sourcing. So for anybody in the property sector, learn and live property sourcing first. Even if you kind of already past that stage, if you're not finding deals that you can develop, you've not mastered property sourcing yet. Because once you've mastered that, and it's a bit like, this is a really crap analogy, isn't it? But you know when you get somebody who can cut hair and they go and work anywhere and they've always got that as a fallback. Property sourcing is like that. If I was ever in a situation where I've got to start again today, I know today I'll find a property that I can source straight away and I'd sell it and make money. And that's the reality. I've always got that in my back pocket, but it's helped me through all the process in life.
And also, just from a frequency point of view, right, when you're property sourcing, you're probably looking at, let's say you're looking at 100 properties per day, because you could potentially sell all of them.
Yep.
Whereas if you're looking for something to flip for yourself, you might limit yourself to maybe looking at 10.
Yep.
Now you're solving 10x fewer problems, trying to get them through. So your learning is much better when you're doing property sourcing, because you have to be better at it because you're seeing more properties.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it gives you that foundation to be. And some of the guys that I speak to that do big developments, and you know, one of the guys that I know that the development's you know, monstrous. He's based in Dubai, and he started property sourcing the same time as me, and that's always been our foundation of, you know, when we're sharing a deal together, we look at the same 5 things. That's it, because those 5 things we look at, we analyse quickly, and we know, is it crap or is it something actually we can. And it's not a case of we've got a decision there and then, but we've got a rough idea if this is going to work. And
he has got an absolutely monstrous development going on, hasn't he? That takes up all of his time, but he's still property sources.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's you know, an absolute animal with it, and he'll never come out of that in terms of it gives him the cash flow, so that because he's always looking for a deal for himself. Anything that he finds that is not quite right for him, it just sells on, and that's it. And that's the beauty of deal sourcing. It's like a trade that you've got that you can always use and fall back on, and but will help you throughout your career in terms of property.
Finally, I want to ask you one last question. You've obviously had a long and distinguished, can I say distinguished?
Are you going to knight me?
It feels too regal, doesn't it?
I feel this is right, yeah. This is the right time now, Sir Stephen. I think it's got a ring to it.
I'd happily waft a sword around your head. The last question that I want to ask you, over your entire career, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned?
That's a really good question.
You sort of hinted at one before when you took on the big project when you were 25, because that set you up for the levels of stress that you were going to get into and prepared you for for how stressful this could be. But would you say that's your biggest lesson learned, or is there anything that's bigger?
I don't think there's one. I think you come across lots, don't you? I think it's interesting because obviously when I was younger, I was, money hungry. That was it. I worked when I was young. I had quite a few jobs all at the same time, and I was always focused on money. And until I was through my 20s and part of my 30s, and seeing my kids now, when we were looking at properties, and it's making me smile because like we talk about stuff, and obviously they've got different characters, and one of the characters is very cautious. The other character is a little bit more risky, and then the other one is like guns blazing, doesn't give a shit. That's it. And the cautious ones, when they were looking at properties, would knock a property back based on the smallest thing or the slightest fear almost. Well, what if we didn't get this, or what if this wasn't there? And and then it took some time to actually sit down with them and say, what if you don't? What's the worst? And then we started, we'd start viewing properties and we'd say, risk it for a biscuit, because that's the reality. You've got to risk it, because if you don't take that risk, you're never going to know. You're never going to, and some of them you're not going to make that money on, but as long as you've got an exit, or you can carry on doing it or rent it out, or whatever it is, that will help you go forward. And I think taking those risks has been the biggest thing that's helped me jump through the kind of hoops and stages. So risk it for a biscuit, isn't it? Best advice I can give you.
What a phenomenal piece of advice. I really wasn't expecting you to say that. But thanks very much. Thanks for your insight. Thanks for being here. I'll probably see you in about 5 years' time on the next podcast, when we've both got a bit of time to do it together. But really appreciate it. Thanks, Steve.
Cheers, Chris.
A big thanks to Steve for being here and for helping us show that you don't need to be the most handsome guy in the room, nor the smartest, to make it in the property industry. I really hope that you got some value and some tips from this episode that are going to help you in your career to forward the developments that you're doing, or forward your decision making, because it's not always about going bigger and bigger and bigger like Steve's shown. But either way, I hope that it helps you with the path that you've chosen and your wealth creation. You've been listening to the Behind the Bricks podcast. We'll see you next time.